Do you have a favorite season? While I have to admit, I do actually like pretty much every season of the year for different reasons. If I had to pick a favorite, it would most certainly have to be fall. The weather, the coloring, the crispness in the air, and the fact that there are no more 90 or 100 degree days. And while we don't get 100-degree days in New York City very often, the ones that are in the mid to upper 90s, which we did have quite a few times this summer, are just unbearable because the humidity in New York is through the roof and it feels like 120. So when I saw that so many people this year decided to do their top fall favorite eyeshadow palettes, I absolutely had to jump on the bandwagon. It was an idea I had even before I started seeing the videos, but this definitely made me go through my collection, pick out the eyeshadow palettes that I think are fall appropriate, and I'm gonna share those with you today. So if you'd like to hear about the 10 palettes that I have in my collection that I feel are very fall appropriate, then please keep on watching. Everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm really excited for today's video because any video that I can make about eyeshadow palettes, I'm excited for. And today we're going to be talking about my picks from my collection for the fall as far as eyeshadow palettes are concerned. Now, I know not the whole world, of course, is entering fall, but I figured since I am in a northern hemisphere and these are the eyeshadow palettes that I'd like to be pulling for in the next 3 months or so, it would only be fair that I should be able to do this video. I've seen a lot of creators do this video, and while it is not a revolutionary idea, definitely this season the first two people that have inspired the rest of us to go ahead and jump on the bandwagon have been Erin Harris and Amy Loves Makeup. So I will go ahead and list their channels and their videos down below, and if I can think of some other favorites that I have watched, because I've already watched probably at least a dozen videos like this, then I will go ahead and include those too. So we are here to talk about some beautiful fall eyeshadow palettes, but before we jump right into it, for those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Natalia and I am doing a year-long no-buy for the entire year of 2020. So if you're also doing a no-buy or low buy, or just need a little bit of inspiration to use more of the makeup that you already own instead of constantly craving all the new releases, then I hope a video like this might inspire you to pull for some eyeshadow palettes that you already own and that have the fall theme. And I also hope that you will consider subscribing and join our frugal family. And with that out of the way, let's jump in. So the purpose of this video, aside from of course giving me an excuse to talk about eyeshadow palettes and look at pretty colors and swatch a few, is to inspire me to use these palettes for the upcoming few months, but also to hopefully inspire you to look through your collection and see if you already have some of these so that you can use some of the palettes you already own this season instead of being tempted by all the new releases that have any of these similar color schemes. So we're gonna go in no particular order. I just have a tray, as I normally do, in front of me with 10 palettes, and at the end I'm going to mention 3 other palettes that I think would be good transition palettes from summer to fall. So these are going to be 3 palettes that I actually mentioned in my summer shop my stash that I think I could continue using throughout the fall, and it would still give me all the cozy sweater and fall color vibes. In no particular order, we're gonna go with what's on my eyes, and honestly probably the most obvious one if you have this palette, and I know a lot of people don't because they've decluttered it, but those of us who do, I think will definitely gravitate towards this palette in the fall months. And this of course is the infamous ABH Subculture palette that broke the internet and really stirred a lot of drama and a lot of controversy. This palette, I guess by now, came out probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and I believe I have the original formula. I know this has been reformulated, but I can't speak for that formula, and I know this is the formula that has the really pigmented but very powdery mattes, and the shimmers, while creamy, in my opinion are a little tricky to work with. There's only 3. 2 of them are kind of like duochromes, these 2 lighter shades. This has a really beautiful yellow green tint and shift to it, and the copper is beautiful. But I've noticed that in higher end eyeshadows the copper is almost always going to be beautiful, so a great copper is not a tough find. at least from what I've seen. I mean, I feel like I have quite a lot of fantastic copper shades, and this is no exception. Now, I decided to play with this one today because I hadn't used it in a really long time. And when I did first get it, was not in the majority, because the majority of people really dislike this palette. I definitely have to say that I was in the minority, and I really enjoyed it. I was just very careful with it and tried to apply color very gradually and really take my time, and that way I usually had no issues. And I still stand by that, but I think because I've tried so many other pigmented, high quality eyeshadows since, I do have to say that using it today, I felt like it took me way too long to create an eye look with this palette, because the formula is definitely finicky. Blending it is definitely challenging. This is not the kind of formula that you can over blend, but I do adore the color scheme, because I mean, does this not scream everything fall? Look at this. We've got these gorgeous matte greens, right? You can see those. How am I gonna do this? We're gonna do it like this. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, you can see, you see how powdery that is, right? But it's beautiful colors, but they're definitely tricky to work with. And then of course we have these gorgeous browns and yellows and oranges, which are so appropriate for the fall. And then there's these stunning burgundies. So let me swatch a few more. So let me swatch the ones I used today as far as the mattes are concerned. So I used these 3 today. So there are those. And since I talked about that bronze, let me swatch that bronze for you guys. You can see, I mean, that's a beautiful bronze. So yeah, I mean, these are fantastic as far as the colors are concerned, but they are a little bit difficult to work with. But I don't plan on decluttering this eyeshadow unless another one that I'm about to show you, which I have never used, ends up kind of taking this palette spot. But from the reviews I remember back in the day when the next palette came out, I doubt that it's going to be that much better. And the palette I'm talking about is the Rimmel Magnifies Jewel Rocks edition. And this definitely has those subculture vibes. While it's not exact, let me do this. These two, right? While it's not exact, there's definitely similarities. This has a couple of those blues. So this is one that I purchased because I really wanted to compare the two back in the day.
Oh boy, it's noisy. Wow.
This is one I purchased because I really did love the color story of this as well. I do love these sort of fall colors for sure. But this was featured in my palettes I own and have never tried video, and as you can see, I still haven't tried it. So I really would like to finally try it this fall. And as much as I also have a hard time digging into an eyeshadow palette for the first time, because I just think it looks so beautiful when it's not swatched, we need to dig in. So the colors I see that seem to have some similar vibes, I'd like to swatch the green, this like corally peach shade. I'll swatch the bronze, and I'll probably swatch this mustard. I'm gonna do the mustard matte, the green, oops, it's powdery, the peachy coral, and the bronze. I'm gonna put the bronze here. The mustard, oh, that's a very different mustard. It might work together with a different shade from Subculture, but it's very pigmented. So, I don't know. Can you guys see that? Yeah, right there. And then we have that peachy color. There's that peachy color. And then the green. It's a different shade of green, but it's really pretty. Let me maybe do those on my hand so you guys can see that better. There they are. This is a little better to see. So you can see the pigmentation, of course, doesn't pack this punch, but maybe because of that, they'll be a little easier to use. So I definitely think if you have this palette, this would be a great one to pull out right now for the fall. Another couple of more drugstore priced options that I would recommend is this Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air. This is kind of like a quasi dupe for the ABH Modern Renaissance, and I think this is perfect for the fall because it has this gorgeous warm camely brown. It has this more neutral transition as well. It has that gorgeous reddish brown, which is so fall appropriate, as well as this more terracotta orange color. Then of course we have a berry, a really deep rich brown, and then a couple of nice shimmers to round out the look. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch the two transition shades in this palette, and then let's go ahead and swatch that reddish brown that I think is so beautiful. And then let's do the berry shade, which is a little dry in comparison to the other colors for sure. And finally, let's do one of the shimmers. So here's some of the shades from this palette. You can see those top two transitions, really stunning, but they are very powdery. And then that rich, beautiful reddish brown, the berry, which I did have to swatch a couple of times, and it is a much drier texture. You could probably even see it if I bring the palette up close. You could see it's not as smooth and silky as some of these other mattes. And then there's that one shimmer on the bottom, which is this shade right here. This I think is a beautiful choice for the fall. Next, I'd like to talk about a palette that I already have mentioned in my spring picks, and that is the BH Royal Affair. This is one of those palettes that I think is really appropriate all year round, but it has a ton of colors that just scream fall. If you look, we have this entire row, which I think is just so fall appropriate. You've got that beautiful, again, rich burgundy berry. You have a berry shimmer, these beautiful metallic shades, this entire row of different browns and transitions, this really nice creamsicle color. So there's just so much variety in here and so many options for any time of the year, especially fall. So let me go ahead and maybe swatch this row, since these are the kind of shades that we've been talking about a lot today with Subculture and all the other palettes. So there's all those. And then let me also swatch for you guys a couple of these shimmers. These are so beautiful. Do you guys see those shimmers? They are just stunning. So I think this is a fantastic fall palette. If you have this one, definitely pull it out. And then we have a Milani palette. This palette is, I don't believe, available anymore, but if you have this, if you have the Milani Bold Obsessions, this is the time to use it. Look at these beautiful fall colors. With the exception of maybe that gray, if you just take that gray away, the rest is so fall appropriate. Let me swatch some of these. Look at those. I mean, that is just so pretty. How about that chocolatey, rich, deep brown? There it is. That is definitely fall to me. Right? That's like the changing colors of the leaves right there. The only thing we're missing is a green in this palette, and the other ones I've been showing you for the most part have had a green, with the exception of these two. Let's talk about a couple of palettes from Juvia's Place, because I have 7 of their palettes and I've done a full video ranking all my palettes before, and definitely I do love Juvia's Place eyeshadows, and I feel like I have so many different color stories from them that I could find something for every season and then some. One of my favorite palettes that I've had the longest is the Nubian 2. I know they definitely still have this one, and I think this is a fantastic palette for the fall. Again, with maybe the exception of that blue, but even that could look beautiful in the fall. But if you cover up that blue, I can't really quite do it because it's in the center, but you guys can imagine what this palette would look like without that blue. I feel like all these other colors are fall. Let's swatch some of these. These are just so pretty. I mean, look at that green. Look at that green. Isn't that just gorgeous? And let's also do this really deep purple, because I also do love purples in the fall. Look at that. And this is affordable. Again, I'm not saying that you guys need to go out and get any of these by any means. You know, I'm on a no buy, so I'm just trying to encourage you to look for these colors in what you already have. And if you have this palette and you see yourself craving another one that's more recent, give this one a chance. Bring it back out for another go around and see if maybe you can just create the same looks that you've been seeing on Instagram with things you already have. For example, I really want the latest Sigma palette, the fall one, the one I think it's called, is it Untamed? The one in that black packaging with the velvet stripes on it. But essentially between these two palettes, I am sure I can recreate most of the looks. I still want that palette, but I am instead going to use these two, and I'm going to look at those looks as inspiration and try to recreate them. So that's kind of what we're here for, is to try to play with eyeshadow palettes, because why not? But also inspire ourselves to pull out what we already have. I have one more Juvia's palette that I think is great for the fall, and that is the Warrior palette, because this is a neutral, warm-toned lover's dream, because these colors are not just your basic browns and bronzes. It seems like it might be, but these, there's just something a little extra special about these. I think the way these colors are paired, I mean, you have the bone shade, but then you have this beautiful warm transition, and then you have this gorgeous dark chocolate brown for dimension, and then you have 6 different shimmer options, and those are the ones I think I would like to swatch because they are just stunning. I don't know how you can beat these shimmers. I mean, look at this. This is like pumpkin, and I don't even like pumpkin spice, but this is all those pumpkin vibes and all the yellow leaves and the copper leaves that we can imagine, and all those gorgeous rusty colors that we want to wear all over our eyes and all over our bodies. I just think this is such a beautiful palette, and I think it doesn't get enough love on YouTube, I guess because Juvia's Place is so known for their colorful shadows that somehow this palette gets overlooked, but I think it's one of their best, and those shimmers are just something else. Another one is one of my Lorac Mega Pros. I have 4 of these, and while I feel like 3 out of 4 of them have fall colors in them, the first one, which was like the more burgundy-ish one, definitely has some fall colors. But I don't know, I felt like out of all of them, this one is my favorite so far out of all of them because I've used this one the most. I just felt like this one had more subdued fall vibe. So if you have this one, and especially if you're somebody that likes more neutral, not quite as bold and vibrant looks, I think this is the perfect palette for that. We have these really nice mattes, and I love that forest green that's actually called Forest. And then of course you still have so many lovely shimmer options that are not quite as bold, but that can create such a nice fall look. I really love this color because it has a little bit of a green to it, and I think those would pair so nicely together with also some of these browns. I think this palette, and in general, I feel like Lorac has kind of fallen off the radar, and I don't know why. They're one of my favorite formulas. I really do still love Lorac. Yes, they are not quite as I said, punchy, so maybe that is why so many people that are used to these crazy Instagram looks and immediate color payoff without any building up no longer really notice Lorac. But I think they are fantastic eyeshadows, and I have quite a lot of Lorac eyeshadow palettes, and that's one that I hope to get a chance to enjoy again in the fall. And then we have another ABH palette actually that I also feel is one of those that is all year appropriate. This is the Sultry. I love this palette, and it just also has so many tones that I think you can rock in the fall. It has these gorgeous browns. It has that beautiful, again, kind of coral shade, which I think can really brighten up an all brown look. And then it also has some of the best shimmers ever. This palette is known for its stunning shimmers. They're just so fun, so beautiful. I think I got all of them. Look at those. And then let's do the mattes. Oh, that deep dark brown. Look at that swatch. That just was one little Swipe. So pretty. I feel like this is one of those palettes where if you have it, I know it's been discontinued, if you have it and if you're trying to convince yourself out of any of the upcoming holiday palettes that promise glitzy glam, you don't need any of that. You just need the sultry. I mean, this is another reason for why I am not as upset that I don't have the Natasha Denona Latest Glam, even though I'm eyeing it, is because I have the sultry, and while the sultry is still a bit warmer, I feel like, than the glam, it definitely can do some similar looks. And then before we get into my kind of transitional honorary mentions, the last palette that I have to talk about is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. This was one I bought secondhand and I at first regretted it, but then I put it into a Shop My Stash and I ended up really enjoying it. And while it is still a bit too warm from my personal preference, I think if there is a season when one is to rock it, it has to be the fall, because look at this. This is like the New England mountains in the fall if you just multiply this palette many times over. Let's also again do the shimmers, since that seems to be kind of how we're rolling here today. Look at those. Those are lovely. And then let's do some of these mattes. Oh, that's not a matte. Oops. And let's do a couple of these deep browns. There it is. Wow. Pretty fall in a palette. These are just so nice. I mean, these vibrant rusty colors and terracottas and that gorgeous raspberry shade. This is a great one and I should definitely give it more love. And now we just have to talk about 3 kind of honorable mentions, or as I like to think, transitional palettes, because I think while these were great in the summer, they would go right into the fall perfectly. One of those palettes is the Elamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe palette. I always reach for this in the summer because I really do love all these shimmers in the summer, and I do think these more like tropical colors look fantastic in the summertime, but they are also perfect colors for the fall. Look at that. Right, and then we've got some of my favorite shimmers ever. Look at that bottom shade. Oh, that shade is why I think I will never declutter this palette. That's the shade in El Malecon. I hope I said that right. Oh, I could just stare at that eyeshadow. Love that one. So this was in my summer Shop My Stash, and I will probably put it back just because I did get a little bit of use and I wanted to try some of these other ones. But if you have it, I suggest you keep it in your fall, you know, everyday makeup drawer or however you do it. I just put things in a box from something like a shoebox. And then the other one is the Dose of Colors Desi and Katie Francation palette. This is another one that I love in the summer because the shimmers are just so blinding, and I think that they're just really lovely for the summertime. You get like this bronzy goddess sort of look, but if you take this away, I mean, this is fall. This green, look at this. And then these beautiful mattes. Look at those mattes. Can you see those? So pretty. So yeah, I think this is perfect. And then the last one that I'm including, I think would be great for the fall, but mainly I'm including it because I didn't get a chance to use it in the summer, and I think it can work for both. And that is, oops, sorry, I keep forgetting to show it to you guys. And that is the Dose of Colors Sassy CNS. This definitely is a fall appropriate palette. It's got these gorgeous browns and some corals again, and I didn't get a chance to use it this summer, so I would like to see if I can make time for that palette this season. And with that, those were my top fall picks from my collection. I would love to hear what palettes you have that you feel have fall appropriate color stories. I would love to hear if you have any of the palettes I do, and if you agree with me that these are palettes you reach for in the fall. And of course, if there are palettes that you have recently picked up and that you love, while I will not be buying them myself, I definitely would love to hear your thoughts on them, because I do watch a lot of YouTube. I do follow a lot of Instagram accounts, and I love to watch all sorts of will I buy it and new makeup get ready with me's videos. So I am usually up to date on the new releases. I definitely have my eye on a lot of things. I am just not actually going out there and purchasing them, but I'm trying to stay informed. I'm trying to get inspiration from the new releases that are coming out. So I have absolutely no problems discussing those with you guys. In fact, I welcome it and I would love it. And other than that, I just want to one more time remind those of you that are new to please subscribe. And I hope that you guys are all doing really, really well. I thank you so much for your time and for watching another one of my videos and for all of your support. I thank you to all of those of you who have entered in my 100 subscribers giveaway. And if you haven't, please go ahead and do that. And I hope that you are staying safe and that you're continuing to take care of yourself and those around you during this crazy, crazy year. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye.
Okay, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? My hands are so dry. We're talking about fall palettes. And it's definitely fall, this change of seasons. It's killing my skin about that. And having to use hand sanitizer and wash my hands 100 times every day. Not helping. It would have to be fall. This is gonna be a long night. Crispness of the air. The crisps. The crispness. Oh, the weather, the coloring, the crispness. I can't say that word. The crispness. Crispness. There's no second S. You probably will hear all the noise from the outside because my building is made out of cardboard and I'm filming on an iPhone, which surprisingly enough picks up noise from like 5 blocks away.